Alright guys, I said I was going to try to make all these videos really quick, and hopefully it helps the YouTube algorithm like me again, because I used to get a lot more views on my Splinterlands stuff, but getting sick, taking time off from family, not making videos for a few days seems to have hurt my overall account. But that's okay, because that stuff was worth it. And you get sick, but my subscribers are going up, so thank you all very much. And if you do like this content that I'm trying to do, going over all the Splinterlands cards, liking the video would help spread it out a little bit more and help me show this to a few more people. Okay, so today we're going into the death cards. I do have the neutral cards up as well. I don't know why Dr. Blight just jumps into this top position. I reviewed him in the last video. He's a pretty good card for the 4 cost for the Little League under. He's also a slow magic user, but that's better because you don't want him to reflect and kill himself quickly, because he has a lot of debuffs. He slows, he weakens, when he does hit, he might do affliction, and going last gives the rest of your team chance to kill people that would give him more life because of his scavenge ability. So those are all pretty good things, and that's why it's not bad that he's a slow card. Now let's start to look into the new death cards. The new death cards are pretty cool. I like them a lot, and I think they will help the death team be more competitive. Death can really, show up and surprise you in some pretty cool moves. Rules. Nightmare is so fast that I'm starting to love using him in certain rule sets and watching people just unable to hit him. But there's definitely, the kings of the court is not death. They're fun to play, and when they do work, they dominate. But they tend to, in my opinion, not be one of the strongest teams out there, except for certain rule sets, for certain manas, things like that. In my general opinion, they do pretty good in like the 40 to 50 range, when they're able to kind of play their like big 8 cost guys and stuff like that. They do well in like the speed boost ones if you team them up with Kitty and stuff. So that kind of stuff goes on, and it's kind of fun. So we'll start here with the Carry-On Shade. This is kind of interesting, and 1-cost cards are always pretty cool. It is almost a chicken, right? It's a little bit of a faster chicken if you get it to max level, and it flies. So it's a 1-cost card that people might miss, and does 2 attack, so more attack than mana cost. Those are always good cards to have in your deck. It's common, you'll want to get it. You'll definitely want to level him up and make sure you get him to the point that he has that 2 attack, which is only level 7. You could leave him at level 7 and he'd be pretty competitive, but there is an advantage to go ahead and max him out and get that 5th speed. I don't think the 1 extra health is that important. If you're going to spend the money to get him to 9, just get him to 10. So that's just what I would say with that card. When we go into Riftwing is a very interesting card to see. I don't know where this one fits in that well. I can't think of a good... I have the older card sitting over here to even compare it to. Maybe the Shadowy Presence, but Shadowy Presence is in the new set, so he's going to be there. So I can't really say very easily. It's almost like he's that dragging card. 4 cost, 6 speed, 6 health. That seems... You know what he might be? Let me see if it's here. Maybe a better version of the Fallen Spectre. And we are losing... I believe we're losing Fallen Spectre. Yeah, that's not Untamed. So this was our 2 cost that had, Demoralize, Headwings, and Blind. So now you get a 4 cost with some actual HP, but he doesn't have any attack, but he won't kill himself like Fallen Spectre does. And he has Scavenge, so he'll get even more life. But he only has one debuff here in Headwinds. But then he does have Backfire and Dodge with 6 speed and flying. So it's an interesting card. You can put him in the back row, weaken the other team. He gets more HP. And people that miss him will get some Backfire occasionally. Or you could try him as a front row take in a low mana match. That is for sure. Shadowy Snitch, we saw this one before. I thought he was a very similar card to... a card that doesn't really get used that much, and that's a Spineback Wolf. They're both reach monsters. The Shadowy Presence actually does more damage for less mana, so you can kind of see... Well, actually, let me double check that. I don't have a maxed out wolf, so I have to go to the stats page. Okay, so they're pretty much the same. They both do 3 damage normally. At max level, he has 4 speed, so he's a little bit slower, but that's probably why you get away with him at a 4 level cost. I like this card because it's making the death team more playable in the Little League set. I feel like they have a few cards that are pretty cool, but don't always work out that great. Like sometimes I try to run Skeletal Warrior, but you won't be able to use him in the new set. I mean, now in Little League you can run these two, right? You have a flying tank in the front that scavenges and stuff. People might miss a lot. Back it up with a scavenge monster that has an affliction and a dodge as well. So you got 2 dodges in your first 2 monsters on that 4 mana team. That's pretty cool. It's not a bad card. It's interesting. Death does have a pretty powerful. In full format, you want to have a Pegasus, and in the newer format, if it's a high mana match, it's always very tempting to use. I have to have Untamed here to show you because he's an Untamed card. The Gordon. I'm not really comparing them to the Untamed cards in the comparison because these are going to be working with these cards. So as you can see, this one will kind of be working with it. When we get into the Crypt Beetle's kind of to me is a dead-on replacement for. Sorry about that. The Skeletal Warrior. You have to deal with a few coughs because I'm not over my cold, but I have to do this before the set comes out. When you look at him here, you got the 3, the 2 speed, a little bit more armor, and a little bit more life, and he's shielded. This one, it's the same card except for he's a 2 cost, so it's a little less armor, a little less life. This will be a lot better, and this will be very usable because in low mana matches, having a 3 cost tank with shield and armor and a lot of life, that does pretty good attack for 3 cost, 3 attack. That's a really good card. So all of these commons on Death are very usable cards. They are going to help this team a lot. Then we go ahead and look at the Silent Shiva, and they get another sneak monster. This is going to help the team a lot because when you lose the old set, you lose the Stealth Assassin. Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to take my face off. I'm going to take my face off now. I don't think I was showing anything down here in the corner, but that'll make things a little bit better. So you can replace your Stealth Assassin now with this one here. He hits a lot harder, so he's going to make a better stealth team up, especially because the other stealth monsters in the Untamed set, so like the Undead Badger, which I haven't maxed out yet, is one of the few Untamed cards I didn't max out. He's kind of smaller, right? And so having a team up now with 2 big sneak monsters gives you the ability to go after that back row now, where you could do like this guy, throw a maggots in there, and then obviously there's the 9 cost neutral one that would be a really good add-in to that team. The Soiled Stringer, this one is kind of a little bit of a play on the Haunted Spider. Same mana cost, similar damage at max level, similar speed, a little bit less HP, but to do that extra damage. Anytime you see a card with more damage than cost, that makes it a really good team for low mana. The death team is kind of staying in that area where low mana it can really compete with a card like this. And here's another 4-cost card. So you got the Lifesaver. This is always fun to see. They have another Life Leech monster to go right on side the rewards card that came out recently. So he'll be on here. Right here. So you got 2 4-cost mages that can do life leeching. I got to get him 1 more level up. I'm just doing it slowly, you know. I'll buy him. He's pretty cheap right now. I'll buy those last 30. But he doesn't get to 3 magic attack because he has the 3rd ability, and because he has overall 3 abilities using up his points. Whereas this one only has the life leech ability, so it's able to get that 3 magic for only 4 cost. All right, moving on through the death team. You're going to see here that you have a nice True Strike monster. True Strike is pretty cool. And to see True Strike right next to Death Blow for a 7 cost 5, 4 speed 7. I mean, this is just a solid archer. I mean, who isn't going to want a strong attacker in your back row? Death team needs more archers that are strong because they have a lot of good mages, but that means sometimes they can run into issues when they play against somebody who's running a lot of silence. This just gives you another option in those high mono matches to have a really good attacker in the back row. I will say that Death Blow is one of those abilities that just doesn't blow me away, but it's always nice to have a monster on your board that you know will not miss, especially now that Blind is a lot more prevalent, and Chaos Legion will have a lot more monsters just throwing out different debuffs out there to where he's going to hit hard, and so that's a pretty cool thing to see. The Cursed Windu is a nice card. You got a kind of updated version of the Haunted Spirit here. You know, Haunted Spirit was the tank. He was a 5-cost Void and Magic Reflect Self Heal. Now you got a 6-cost, and if you have both these cards in the overall format, you can use whichever one is better for the rule set, which is nice for the Death Team, because now you got a 6-cost that has Thorns, Self Healing, and Slow, with a higher HP total than the Haunted Spirit by a little bit. We can find him here, yeah, because I see he's similar. The fact that he has a slow does make that 3 speed a little bit better. So that one's nice. You got another mage coming in here. The Death Team actually has a surprising good amount of mages. They're an interesting combo with Dewey for sure, because they have just if you well, I don't think I can I sort them by mages here? I don't think I can. Not on this screen. But you have the Death Elemental, you have the Screaming Banshee, you have these 2-cost mages here. You also have right here the Phantom Soldier. So they have a history of actually having some pretty good mages that they can line up and put out on the board. They also have some pretty good archers, though. So they do just have, in general, pretty good cards. I feel like their summoners have been a bit of a lacking thing. And so that's the one thing we need to adjust. Did I accidentally skip over their summoner? Where? Oh, he's at the bottom for some reason. I was like, where did he go? Because I was getting into the epics, and I knew he wasn't epic. I knew he was rare. So Insidious here, he has a blind with a recharge. So this is one of those monsters that does 3 times damage every other turn. Sorry, I still haven't figured out. Nobody's commented or helped me out if it's 1 in 3 or 2 in 4. And I tried to play on the test server, but I never get a match. I guess all the hype is died down, or just nobody is in Diamond, because that's where I'm at. So the blind is just a nice ability. It's a nice one to make sure you can keep on the board. A 5-cost 3 magic isn't bad. He's a little bit slow, so this card could maybe be used a little bit more in reverse speed. Same thing here with the mage. Actually, I think I skipped this one. The Mage Necropolis. He has camouflage. Camouflage in sniper magic with oppress and stun. Never mind, this guy's wickedly strong. So we'll go back to this one, and then we'll talk about this one a little bit more. But a sniper that can stun, so you can stun that snipe position, is pretty amazing. A camouflage monster you can throw in a position he can't get hit by sneak, can't get hit by opportunity, can't get hit by snipers, so nobody's going to hit him unless he hits that front row. That's pretty amazing. And then on top of that, if he happens to be sniping one of those like second row monsters that don't have any attack, he's going to really pummel them with magic damage. That is pretty awesome. The 4 HP is a little bit of an issue, because if he is sniping a reflect monster, which can happen sometimes, he's going to be dealing back 2 damage, so he'll kill himself in 2 attacks. You'll have to see maybe if you can get a strengthen combo in there, or if you play it with Mimosa, no big deal. They have Void, then Magic Reflect, not a big deal. It's going to take a lot more turns to kill yourself. Also, we do know about that new neutral monster that has Triage. That's one of the cards I was going to bring up. And that's this one right here. This is going to be a great card on the Death Team. They don't have a lot of repair. They don't have a lot of triage. And so he's going to combo in here. And the few monsters that do have armor, because they do have a few in the Untamed set, he'll be able to do repairs for. And then on top of that, all of these mages that have kind of iffy HP maybe, they're going to be able to get triage healed now if they're bouncing magic back at themselves and make them much more resilient. And with, we got this mage coming in, this mage coming in, this mage coming in, this mage coming in. It's just going to make the team still a really good, strong magic team, but adding in that card would probably be very, very helpful. This is also where you could add in somebody to strengthen the team. Like I mentioned, that would also give them a little bit more HP. The recharge is it's interesting, because when he hits for 9, right? I don't really think the Death Team has a way to buff his magic. A silence would be pretty depressing, because it takes away 3 damage per hit on him. So hopefully if there is a silence on the other side, you have some way to get that monster off the board before he does his attack. If you don't, it's kind of a bummer. Still, I think these recharge monsters are going to be a lot of fun to play with. They're going to make the game very random, very interesting when you see these guys who just don't attack one turn, but then come and just lay into somebody the next turn. That's probably the funnest new ability. I don't know if it'll be the most impactful new ability, because maybe a lot of the guys don't get to attack 2 times a game, so it's just not that strong. Because realistically, that's the advantage. If you get at least 2 attacks in, it's like your monster attacked 6 times. So it might die with only having gone through 4 turns, but got 6 turns worth of attacking. That's the way I look at it. But if it only gets 1 attack and it ends up getting killed, then it only got 3 turns worth of attacking, and it might have got killed on like the 2nd turn or something like that, which is still kind of a cool positive, but definitely first turn death will just be devastating. Okay, we get a 2-cost card here. This one's very interesting as well because he's a little bit of a play on, like he said, I think they looked at the old set and they didn't want to make the cards exactly the same, but they made them kind of similar. So you look here, you have a 2-cost mage with Rust and Affliction. He's actually an untamed card, so he'll be able to play in the next set. But this one here, now you can have one more card for that low mana, 2-cost, 2 archer damage with a shatter, which is really important. Rust and shatter is kind of interesting, especially because you can like double them up with this one for double rust, which maybe makes the shatter not as impressive. But if there is one big armor tank on the other side, even 2 rust is not going to get rid of 8 armor, 10 armor. So having a monster with shatter is pretty cool. Amplify is an interesting card to see here. Obviously, this next card is where Amplify is going to kick in a little bit. I do think if Amplify works with Backfire, then it can play around a little bit with this guy as well on the Riftwing. But right here, we do have a Magic Reflecting tank. One of the things the Death Team did not have was a big Magic Reflecting tank, except for the one with Taunt. Now, that's an interesting thing, right? The 10-cost Legendary from the Untamed set, Mr. Dark Heart, he is an awesome card, but because he's Void, Magic Reflect, and Taunt, so the mages all have to come after him. But sometimes you don't necessarily want to pull all the damage at your tank, so this gives you another option. You get a Void Armor monster that bounces back magic, that has Force Field, so he only takes 1 damage from any big hitters, which is very important. He has that Giant Killer ability, which will be really helpful for taking on cards like this one. And then you add into there that if you play him with some stuns behind him, then he's going to have this big double hit. Now that is where you have to look at the cards in Untamed that have stun, and the Death Team actually does have a few cards with stun. You've got the Soulstorm with stun, and then you also have the new card here that has stun. So the one issue here is he's a sniper with stun, so that doesn't maybe combo with this as well because he's not going to be sitting. They're not going to be hitting the same target. It's also interesting to see a magic using tank though. So having a front row tank that will not be missing except for phase monsters, we can't say that about magic exactly, is a pretty exciting, change. I like the idea of being able to have a mage in the front row and playing mage. Now, you will see here that we'll go through the neutrals really quickly. I'll tell you the ones that I think are better for the team. Obviously, I think that this card won't be as usable because they actually got a 9-cost tank in their new set. This card will be awesome. Gem Meteor is just a awesome shattering card. He'll be able to help with the sniping duty. Obviously, if you have a really cool sniper card, having a Nether Sniper to go with this card isn't a bad thing at all, so that you can hopefully get through guys a little quicker. The Triage Repair is going to be amazing. Here's one of those armored monsters. So you can put him next to him, and now you're going to have a repair on this guy, and then you're going to have these other little mages that only cost 4 and 2 sitting behind this guy doing a magic team. And if you're getting that bounce back, well, that's okay because he's going to be popping off a few heals to them. And if it's a Mimosa team in higher mana, they're taking half damage anyways. Nobody on your team is ever going to die from magic being blocked back. And that's something that they couldn't do before. They couldn't. There was not a good way to. I don't think none of them have triage, right? Let me know if I'm forgetting a way to get the Death Team to be able to heal in the back row. I might. Oh, you know what? I am forgetting one card, and it's because I don't have it. And when you see this card in action, it actually makes a lot of sense. There it is. So, but she's a lot of money. Maybe you can get this guy a little bit cheaper. What is the Osa right now if I wanted to go pick up a maxed one? Is there even a maxed one for sale? $1,500 gets you a level 2? Oh, yeah, so you're going to have to buy a whole bunch of these. So, yeah, a couple thousand, probably about $2,000 or $3,000. I won't do all the exact math there. Sorry, got to go back over here. Death neutral. We'll just bring up the other cards there. Okay, so now let's go. Oh, is there anybody else from the neutrals that I want to talk about for them? Nobody else has a stun in the neutral set. Really, it's this card here. This card here will probably be usable if you go the archer route instead of the mages. And then, without a doubt, for the low-cost mana, you don't really... They have so many 2-cost cards, they don't need to focus on this one as much as a helper. If they're doing the 4-cost mage set, then maybe they could play this one right here. But I'm really thinking it's mostly this card here. This one and this one are just, good epic cards. So they could probably be added to any team and help and do some good damage. But their summoner is where I rarely see this team turning it around a little bit. Because one of the things that seems to dominate death anytime you're playing in those middle mana matches is magic. Which is really interesting because like Haunted Spirits, it seems like he's a good magic tank. But he just doesn't have enough HP to be getting hit by like 5 mana. Now they get a card that can lower the mana. They get a tank that has Reflect and Force Field if you go the other route. And he can have Void in a big mana match where you're playing him with Mimosa. And then you also have a couple of these other tanks that are kind of interesting right here. So you got a Headwinds here and then a minus magic here. So you could be lowering life, lowering magic, playing all these other debuffs, and you could be still mixing in a few silences to go with this minus magic with the death team, and you could just really start to dominate those magic teams. And I kind of feel that's like where death should have been. But sometimes you play a team and you just go like, man, I don't know what happened. Those magic guys just hit so hard. It didn't matter that I felt like I was set up to fight against them. Maybe you wouldn't have seen that. You'll have to let me know if you agree. I think Thaddeus is a really, really good addition to the team. If I compare him to the other summoners on the team, let me make sure I go to all cards because I don't have him. So Cryptomancer, it's kind of a play on him. They both have the -1 life, but instead of attack and speed, now you're taking away magic. And magic is so devastating. The magic teams just seem to be really, really strong really early on. I feel like this is pretty good. Zintar's -1 attack, I feel like, is one of the things that is a bit of a bummer. The reason why I say that is because Zintar's -1 attack, he, what do you call it? It sometimes, like, it's good in melee only or lots of melee monsters, but sometimes you don't even get to do it on the tank because they're playing like a cube or a Lord A or one of those guys, and then they have all magic and archer in the background, and you're just like, oh, it didn't work. Contesta's a little bit better, but mages still, to me, are people's preferred way to fight. Now, if you have a full leveled one of these guys, then good for you. But again, these dice summoners are extremely expensive. I only have a level 4. I might spend the money to go ahead and get these. I'll have to decide if I want to do that or not. Obviously, Jarx doesn't really play in. These ones are also all going away. So now you have these 3 summoners as an option. You get this one added in. Now you can really, really go into the different rule sets with a lot of different options. And it gives you a way to fight back against magic that you didn't know. Also, the 4-cost summoners in general, since this is the first one I'm reviewing, they're going to change Little League a lot. Because now you have a summoner that does 2 abilities for some of the teams that you can play in Little League. Whereas before, you always had to pick one of these ones. So that's a pretty cool thing to see as well. All right, I'm going to have to edit this in. I'm such a silly person, but I forgot to talk about the Corpse Fiend. So let's talk about the Corpse Fiend and the general idea of these 0-cost legendaries. 0-cost legendaries are going to be very, very cool and very, very powerful for the change of the game. We already know the chicken, sometimes having a chicken, not having a chicken wins you a game. Now you get a 0-cost chicken that also go ahead and does a debuff. And it tends to have a better use case. So you needed one more silence on the death team. You're losing the Phantom Soldier. Or you just don't have a silence. You want a double silence. Well, now you got a summoner that silences and a 0-cost monster that does a silence. So in almost any match, you can double silence. This is one of the other reasons why I was getting to the fact that the Magic team Killers is really starting to become the death team, and they can do it a lot of different ways when it comes to their attackers, but they're definitely built now to really fight against those mages. They have some really good cards to fight against mages. They have a summoner that gives everyone void. They're really becoming the team that should really be able to shut down the different magic teams out there. And there's going to be a lot more magic teams now, because when we go over the earth team later, they get in a magic summoner. Thanks everybody. This is The Real Goodbye.